Guten Tag, ladies and gentlemen. Financial Ape here, and welcome back to another one. Today we'll be discussing the Greeks of the options. Friendly reminder that a call option and a put option for a stock that does not pay a dividend. Okay, this is very important. We assume that this stock does not pay a dividend. Whatever the stock may be, we'll call it stock XYZ. So the call option and a put option are a function of five main variables. Those five variables are the stock price denoted by S subscript 0, the strike price denoted by K, interest rates denoted by R, time denoted by T, and the volatility of that asset denoted by sigma. I want you to think of the Greeks as sensitivity measures and rates of change. All right, two ways to think of the Greeks. They are rates of change and sensitivity measures. Let's start with the first Greek, delta. Delta is a sensitivity measure or a rate of change that measures the change in the option's premium or price over the change in the underlying stock price. I want you to remember this. Option delta is positively related to the price of a call option, but negatively related to the price of a put option. Options delta is positive for American calls and it's negative for American puts. Moreover, the delta varies between 0 and 1. However, for a put option, because of the inverse relationship with the stock price, we have to use a negative 1 here to reflect that negative correlation. That is why we say that option delta for a put varies from -1 to 0. In reality, the delta is at its highest at 1 and it's at its lowest at 0. It can only be a number between 0 and 1. It can't be 2, it can't be 4. It only varies between 0 and 1. I cannot stress this enough. You'll never have a delta of 45. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible. So, the delta varies between 0 and 1. It'll say -1 here because we have to factor in the fact that the value of a put, right? When you buy a put, the value of that put will be negatively related to the price of the underlying stock. That's why we have a 1 here. Whereas for the delta of a call, it's between 0 and +1. Why? Because remember, if you buy a call and the stock goes up in price, well, what happens to your call option? Does it go up? Does it go down? It obviously goes up, right? If you're long a call, it means you're bullish on the stock. So when you buy that call option and the stock price goes up, well, the value of your call will go up as well. So that's why you have a +1 here and a -1 here. But in reality, keep this in mind. In reality, the delta of calls or puts, they vary between 0 and 1. The lowest a delta can be is 0. The highest a delta can be is 1. All right? That's delta. It simply measures the rate of change of the option premium or price. Price and premium is the same thing in this context. So it measures the change in the option premium with respect to the change in the underlying asset. That's your delta for you. Positive for American calls and negative for American puts. Why is it negative for puts? Because remember, puts inverse relationship with the stock price. Keep that in mind. Now, The gamma, some people refer to this as the second order Greek. That is very accurate. It's because it's measuring the change of a change. And I know what you're thinking. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This seems complicated. It really isn't. All the gamma is doing is measuring the sensitivity of the delta. So, the definition of a gamma, it measures the change in the options delta over the change in the underlying stock price. That's all your gamma is doing. Do not fret when you see the 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. All it's saying is that it's reminding you that the gamma is a second order Greek, meaning that it's the change in another change. All the gamma is, it's a sensitivity measure measuring the sensitivity of the delta. The gamma measures the sensitivity of your delta. The gamma is always at its highest when you are ATM, when you are at the money. Reminder what ATM is. ATM stands for at the money. And you are at the money when, let's say, we'll use the stock price of 40. If your stock price is 40 and your strike price is also 40, then you are at the money. The closer you are to being at the money, that's when the gamma will be at its highest. Why? Because that's when the delta is the most sensitive. The gamma is at its highest point when the delta is between 0.4 and 0.6. There's a lot of sensitivity around that area, and that's what the gamma captures. All it's doing is capturing the sensitivity of the delta. That is all. We like to keep it super simple here. Now, option gamma is positive for both American style options, for calls and puts. Right? So for American style calls and puts, the option gamma is positive. What does that mean? It means if the gamma goes up, the option value of your call or put also goes up. That's what it means, right? Whenever you think of something that has a positive correlation, think of it as like this. If I changed one variable going up, my other variable will also go up. If I change one variable and it goes down, my other variable will also go down. When we have a negative correlation, it's simply the opposite. When something goes up, the other thing goes down. You don't even have to think about it. If I tell you that these two things they could be any random things, even beyond options. If ever you hear that something has a negative correlation, just think one of them goes up, the other one goes down. All right? Now, moving on to Vega. What does Vega do? All right? Vega is technically not a Greek. It's not a Greek letter. So, the correct Greek letter would be kappa. Then why do we use Vega then? I believe we use Vega because Vega starts with a V, and so does volatility. V, it's hard to forget. That's why it's referred to as Vega, but it's technically not a Greek letter. I just wanted to throw it out there, just for fun. So, what does the Vega measure? It measures the change in the option price, whether it's a call or a put, over the change in the volatility of the underlying stock. Right? This is very important to note. It measures the change in the option premium. It could be for a call or it could be for a put, with respect to the change in the volatility of the underlying stock. So, if the volatility of the underlying stock goes up, well, the value of a call and the value of a put will go up as well, because American calls and puts gain value when volatility increases. All right? That's Vega for you in a nutshell. Moving on to the row. Row is not a very popular Greek because interest rates don't change every single day. That is why rho is somewhat of an outcast in terms of the Greeks. It's not really part of the roster of Greeks, or not the popular ones. What does rho do? Rho is a sensitivity measure that measures the change in the options price over the change in interest rates. Okay? It is positive for American calls and negative for American puts. Be mindful of this negative sign here. Don't ignore it. It's literally telling you the answer. All right? It's telling you that if you increase interest rates, the put option, the value of that contract will go down. However, if you increase interest rates, the value of a call option will go up. Pay attention to your negative signs. They tell you the bigger picture. Once again, rho is positive for American call options and negative for American puts. If I not if I increase interest rates, I have no power. If the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, you will see an increase in call options, right? Increase in the price of a call option, but you will see a decrease. You'll see a decrease in the price of a put option, right? Positive for American calls and negative for American puts. That's what rho is. The last one, the last Greek, is theta. Now, what is theta? Well, from my standpoint, I would say theta is never, ever your friend when you are dealing with long options position. What does it mean to go long? It means you actually bought the option, whether it's a put or a call. So when you're a long call or a long put, right? In other words, when you're buying calls and or puts, right? Because remember, a long position is always what? The buying position. A long position is always the buying position. So when you're long call or put, theta is never your friend. Theta is the reason why your options can become worthless, right? Theta measures the decay of the option price over the change of time, right? And you noticed, is that a negative sign there? Negative sign here as well. Well, what did I say? If there's a negative sign, that means that two variables are moving in opposite directions. And this is true for a theta. Theta, as I said, is the reason why options become worthless. They can become worthless. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will become worthless. But theta is basically eating away at the value of your option every single day. Okay? Theta is negative for American long calls and puts. And it's positive for written American calls and puts. Don't fret when you see the word written or short. It means you're betting against a call or put. All right? Remember what I said. If you're long a call or a put, theta is never your friend. However, it is your best friend when you're shorting American calls and puts. All right? It is lovely to see a contract go down in value when you're shorting that contract. But I don't want to get into much with the selling portion of options. We're going to focus just on the long portion of calls and puts. So for long calls and puts, theta is never ever your friend. Theta is the reason why you're losing money on your calls and puts. All right? At expiration, theta will eat away at the entire value of your call or put. if you don't have any intrinsic value by expiration, your contracts will always be worthless if you don't have any intrinsic value. That is the power of theta. It's literally eating away at the value of your option every single day. And you can't really control for it, but if you know that there's a negative correlation between time and theta, what you can do to minimize the value of theta is you can get long dated calls or long dated puts, depending on whether you're bullish or you're bearish, right? Because if I know that theta has a negative correlation between time, well, if I will simply get a call option or a put option with a longer date for expiration, and my theta will be low, right? Because when theta goes up, time goes down, right? Because there's a negative correlation between time and theta. I want you to remember that. There's a negative correlation between time and theta decay. All right? And remember, when you're long a call or long a put, theta is never your friend. Never, ever your friend. It's your worst enemy. Once again, long means buy, right? You can replace the long word with just buy. So rather than put long here, I could have wrote for American buy calls and puts, right? It means that you're actually dishing out money. It's an outflow of cash when you're long. So when you're long a call or a put, your theta is not your friend. Hopefully, you guys have learned something. If you need any further explanations, as always, I'm an open book. Comment below, and see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. See you all on the moon.